Well, good morning. Welcome to How's Your ePresence on these last few days left right before the holiday in the US called Thanksgiving. It's a short week here and there's a unique thing that happens. The president of the United States always pardons a couple of turkeys. I'm sure that a lot of you know that history. There's probably something to that. I don't know much about it except this. Those two turkeys are staying at five-star, five-diamond hotels right now before they get pardoned. So I don't know if these turkeys are really have it that bad. I'm not so sure they need to be pardoned. Nonetheless, it's the week of Thanksgiving. We are glad that you are here with us. This show is How's Your ePresence? And what we do here is we talk about digital marketing and ways that you can do digital, social, SEO a little better. We got lots of people that come on that share some great quality information to help you do those things a little better. I am Mark Galvin, your host. This show is produced by the company ePresence, and we are absolutely thrilled that you are here. If you're curious about some of the things we've talked about in the past, go check out our YouTube channel. Maybe you're watching it right here on YouTube. We have had some great content that we've dropped recently. And if you're listening to the podcast, we lag a couple of weeks on the podcast, but here's some of the shows that we've talked about recently. How to make choices for a positive change in business. So we brought a fantastic executive coach on the last show named Terry Warren. He was absolutely terrific. I ended up buying a book over that. Another show was how to create short revenue producing videos with Chris Bogue. Chris was very good. We're going to have Chris back on in the future because his content is never ending. It's always the type of content that we need to see. So there's always something new to learn. Give you one more. How to use social media in the insurance world with Cheryl Moore of Wink Inc. She was absolutely terrific. She's a rock star in the insurance space as well as that annuity space is actually where she's from. So we were thrilled that she could join us. Our shows are always live. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. And Twitter, we just recently added. We're typically on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays at 10, Thursdays at 3. Love for you to tune in. If you're watching live, send us a question. We will serve that up to our guest because this is a great way. You may have something you find interesting that our guest shares that you'd like to hear more about. Point us in that direction. We'd be happy to go there. So if you have a question, just simply post it. We'll slap it up on the screen. Today, we're going to talk about LinkedIn, and a lot of you know that's one of my favorite areas. We're going to talk about how to leverage it, and we're going to get into tips for intermediate and advanced users. So stick around. We'll do the beginning, intermediate, and advanced, and if we have time, we'll get into the important parts of a profile. So you definitely want to stick around for that. We'd love for you to subscribe to whatever channel you're on. There's that button there. Go ahead and click that. If you subscribe, you get a notification when we go live. You can pop it on and ask us a question or tune in. And hey, folks, if you are tuning in, drop in the chat box where are you tuning in from. We'd love to hear that as well. Put that in the chat box so everyone can see it. And to be honest, you help us. Every time you comment on any show we're on, like the show that you see, anytime you see it, it helps us reach more people. So we would appreciate that. If you like what you see, please tell us you like it and make a comment about it. So let me tell you who we have on today. Today's show is featuring Daniel Alfon. He is an author and LinkedIn expert and coming to us from a faraway land. We'll get into that once he's on the screen here. He's the author of a book named Build a LinkedIn Profile for Business Success. He joined LinkedIn in early 2004. Gosh, I don't even know when LinkedIn started. He may know the answer to that. He generates articles, does interviews, and produces exclusive content about LinkedIn strategies. So he's all LinkedIn. He's LinkedIn all the time. You can see why we're bringing him on. This is an important topic because you need to make sure you've got a fantastic LinkedIn profile. So a reminder, ask your questions during the show. We would love to answer those questions for you. Make sure if you've got a question about your LinkedIn profile, that we serve that up to Daniel. Good. Well, I think that that's all I've got here. I think it's time to meet Daniel. Let's see if we can find him. Where is he? There he is. Daniel, welcome. How are you, sir?
Thank you very much, Mark, and good morning. I'm very glad to be on How's Your ePresence today.
Well, I am thrilled you're here too, because it's really not morning where you are. Where are you joining us from?
I'm calling from south of Tel Aviv, Israel. So it's late in the afternoon.
What time is it in Israel today, right now?
It's 5 p.m.
5 p.m. So you're joining us after hours officially. That's really nice of you.
Yeah, but that's the summit of my day.
Well, that's good. So is the sun up or sun down there? The sun's still up in Tel Aviv, right? Or it's just south of Tel Aviv, as you said.
It's sunset right now.
It is. Okay. All right. Yeah,
Sundown.
I guess you get I guess the sun's up longer the further north you go in the winter. I never figure that out. I'm always confused by that. Well, nonetheless, we are glad you are here with us today. You are a LinkedIn guy. You understand LinkedIn better than most. Tell me, get into this a little bit, because I probably didn't quite do it justice. What do you do and why do you do it?
Thank you very much. I help people leverage the LinkedIn platform. As you know, LinkedIn has over 800 million users. And since you started today's broadcast, hundreds of people around the world have opened a LinkedIn account. In other words, each second, 2 people sign up. As you know, the real thing is not just to sign up, but to leverage it, to have leads, to have a professional presence on LinkedIn. And because LinkedIn is not very intuitive, I try to help entrepreneurs, consultants, or SMBs leverage it better.
That's fantastic. And it's good to hear that you are sitting in Israel, that it's as important there as it is here in the US. And I've seen it. It's actually growing faster overseas than it is in the US right now. So it's becoming a more and more global platform. And you said, and I saw in your bio, it showed that you joined LinkedIn in 2004. Remind me, when did LinkedIn launch? I don't remember this.
Reid Hoffman and 3 other people launched in the summer of 2003.
Okay, so
the official launch was late 2003.
Got it.
And right now, LinkedIn, that's already it's been acquired by Microsoft. It has over 800 million users worldwide. It's been a bumpy ride.
Yeah, I would say so. And I love the fact that Microsoft purchased LinkedIn for a couple of reasons. Number one is I like how the integration is happening on my Outlook. So I use Microsoft products, and it's easier and easier to get to information on LinkedIn, which means that it's more and more important to make sure that you have a good presence on the platform. All right, I want to start off with a question for you that a lot of business people, and maybe some people watching this don't even have an account. Maybe they do, or if they do, they haven't touched it in ages. So let's say I'm a business owner starting out. How can I dedicate an hour a week to LinkedIn? What should I do, right? So if I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to put an hour into LinkedIn once a week, what would you tell me to do as a new business person on LinkedIn?
Excellent. So my first question to you, Mark, would not be about LinkedIn at all, but about your marketing objectives.
Oh, good.
Where would you like to lead your prospects? Is it to register to a webinar? Is it to download a white paper? Is it to book a demo? Is it to do something else? Because LinkedIn, in my eyes, needs to serve us.
That's good. All right, I'm going to answer that. Let's actually use this as a real life example, because I think it'll help help knock it home. I would like people to go to my website, because when they get to my website, they see my services, and I have a better chance of converting them. So I want to send them to the website.
Excellent. So if we go back to the 4 weeks in an hour a week, I would say that the first week would be to optimize your LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
The second The second would focus on optimizing your network, and we can go down to and explain a bit about that. The third would focus on your content strategy. And the fourth week, the hour you would dedicate on the fourth week would be to run searches and really market on LinkedIn. If we circle
Good.
back to the first week, many SMB owners think that their company page is where they should start. Our job is to tell them that on LinkedIn, their individual profile is what they will use for day-to-day marketing. In other words,
Good.
the page for small and medium businesses is not very important. It's static. And for most entrepreneurs and most SMBs, they would have a lot more followers and a lot more connections than their page will ever have.
Right.
And
Right. Hey, let's talk about that. I think that that's really interesting. And it's something that frequently comes up. That do I need a company page? How much time should I spend on my company page? And and I think the common answer is yes. Have a company page. If not anything else, to get the logo on your LinkedIn profile, right? Just that. But why is it that? And let's get a little granular here. Why is it that the individual profile is so important on LinkedIn? What is your assessment there?
Excellent. The natural action on LinkedIn is to connect as individual. Okay, I can send you an invitation, or you can send someone else an invitation. Most LinkedIn users do not follow pages. That's it.
Yeah.
In fact, there's something else. If you follow a page, then the owner of the page or the super admin would have no contact information to use. Whereas if we both connected on LinkedIn, then in most cases you would have access to my email address and we could communicate outside of LinkedIn. So the first followers are only the employees, and maybe the next bunch of followers would be either candidates wanting interested in joining How's Your ePresence, or people who want to sell you stuff. So before if you have hundreds of employees, then you should care about your LinkedIn page. But if you only have 50 people, forget about it. Use it just to have the logo and focus on your individual profile.
That's right. Oh, absolutely. Very smart. You and I, right before the show, we were talking about this. We recently moved our show, How's Your ePresence, from our company page to my personal page. And LinkedIn, you apply for the show without getting too granular. You apply to have a live broadcast ability, and then LinkedIn has to grant you that access. We got it for our company page first. Recently, I got it for my personal page, and I moved it to the personal page. Why? I've got a lot more connections on my personal page than I do on my company page. Company page is doing well. As actually, we're outperforming the marketplace for followers on our company page, but it still harkens back to exactly what you said, and that is the company page really is. I always like to say that it's about brands that people easily recognize. That's where people are following those, like Nike. Nike's got a gazillion followers. But for smaller companies, company pages are not what people are interested in. Let's focus on the individual profile. I think that's the right spot. I love that. All right. So you said something else. Optimize the profile. And the next thing you said was optimize the network. I'm really curious. What are you talking about, and how do you do that?
Cool. There are two approaches into your network. Okay, one would be you want to become the most connected, and the second would be you want to become the best connected.
Most connected and best connected. Okay.
Most connected or best connected.
All right.
So what it means is, if you want to be most connected, then you would reach 30,000 connections on LinkedIn as fast as possible. And the greatest advantage would be that when you share something across your individual profile, Mark, lots of people will see. You'll have a lot of exposure.
Right.
On the other hand, if you'd like to become the best connected, then it means you need to know your network, and you need to connect only with people you know well. Obviously, even if you know hundreds of people or 2,000 people, that's not a great number. That's not a quantity. But what can the quality bring you? It's very simple. If you look at the prospect that ePresence can have, in your best clients could come through referrals, word of mouth of happy customers referring someone to you and saying, you know what, if you need someone to work on you as an account manager about all your social media presence, not only LinkedIn, but also Twitter, Instagram, whatever, go to Mark or go to ePresence.
Mm-hmm.
And these prospects who come through referrals tend to be longer, they would stay with you longer, they're less price sensitive, and they may end up referring other people to you. And that
Right.
can only happen if you connect with people you know well, because if you look at someone and you don't recognize the names of the mutual connections, then you found nothing. So
Right.
it's either a great quantity or quality, and please don't stay in between, because most people naturally start with the quality, decide they must go to the quantity, and never reach quantity.
That is good to know, and that is an important thing. There is a so you said 30,000.
Yep.
Why is 30,000 an important number?
Because it's the limit that LinkedIn allows users to have. Would it be okay if I shared my screen and showed you something?
Yes, you can do that. So on your screen, there's a button there that says share, and you can
Cool.
start to do that, and then I'll put that up.
Excellent. So if you look at the study, we mentioned most connected, or best connected.
Uh-huh.
And let's look at some numbers. Say I have 300 connections and I know all of them well. Let's say that 2% out of my network would actually see what is something I shared. So it's only 6 people. On the other hand, if you had 30,000 connections and you share something, then 600 people will see it. What happens, Mark, when I decide that 300 connections I know well are not enough, and I want to grow my network tenfold and get it to 3,000 connections? I only get 54 additional views, and that's really not a lot. So if you need to decide between exposure or trust, if you're best connected, you have trust. You can ask someone to refer you to your client. If you have 30,000 connections, you have great exposure. But if you try to aim for both, you will end up having none of them, because you would not get enough exposure and you polluted the quality of your network in a way that will not enable you to get referrals. That's what I wanted to show.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that. So just developing that strategy early is wise. That's something that is key. And for a lot of people, they aren't necessarily thinking about that early on. So it's good that they look at that in the beginning. The next thing you said that folks would do, and we're probably moving fast, so thank you for those of you watching this. There's lots of great content here just from this one question. The next one is the content strategy. What
Mhm.
would you suggest to that person that is new to LinkedIn that
Mhm.
wants to understand how that on that third week, how they should create a content strategy?
Okay, so I would probably start with some digital portfolio inventory, looking at the online presence and documents and videos and resources that they have, educating their ideal clients about their solution. Okay,
Okay.
long evergreen content, that's one part of it. But if you only had an hour, and because it takes time to produce high quality content, what you could do is curate other people's content. In other words, who's your ideal client? Say an SMB from Statesboro, or someone who's growing his business and he needs someone to help him with social media. Then
Right.
ask yourself, what questions are those people asking themselves, and can I point them in the right direction by using or sharing other people's content that I agree with, and I can point them in the right direction and share other people's content. And that's a lot easier than producing content and writing content and having LinkedIn Live events. But you could do that.
Right.
And for every couple of pieces of content of other people's, then also use one of your own, one that is ideally non-salesy, ones that educational. Like, what questions are your prospect asking themselves, and how can you help them understand their choices they have?
Oh, I think that's brilliant. Oh, that's fantastic. Good. And so then in week 4,
Yep.
it's time to start searching. It's time to start building a list of prospects. How do you suggest these organizations start off doing that?
Knowing who your ideal client is
Yeah.
saves you a lot of time. Okay, so
Yeah.
if you know,
Yeah.
if you can really niche down and identify your ideal client, what you could do, the advanced searches on LinkedIn is really the best kept secret out there.
Mhm.
Because when we grew up, nothing like that existed, or we
Right.
had to pay a lot of money to get a fraction of it. Now, if people listening to us would be able to identify their ideal client, then all they have to do is to go to LinkedIn and run a search and filter it to find the exact people they're interested in, and then decide what their next step could be. If
Got
they
it.
have, they could send an invitation request, they could follow that person, or in some cases, you can also filter and only ask LinkedIn to show you people with whom you share at least one mutual connection. And if you connected with people you know well, that means you could ask some of those to introduce you to your ideal client. So advanced searches are huge.
Yeah, I love that. And it's not something that that people really know about, because it always comes up as a question. How does that search work, and do I only get to see that search if I'm a paid member? So is what you're describing only available for those that are paid, or everybody gets to see it?
Everybody gets to see it. There are some limits that LinkedIn puts on some of the searches, but I don't think SMB owners need to rush and pay LinkedIn. Okay, the
Right.
reason being that until you know the limits of the free account, it doesn't make sense to pay LinkedIn for a premium account. Actually,
Bingo. Good point.
the, the free account is so rich and so complex and so counterintuitive, again, that most people or most users never get to know more than 10% of it. Just start
Right.
with the free version. And one thing, because we're on the 23rd, just before Thanksgiving, if you run searches, then LinkedIn does limit it until the end of the month. So in a week's time, you get a whole new bunch of searches. So go out and run some searches today and return after the holiday, and you'll have many more
A whole
searches.
new A whole new set. Yeah, and it is interesting that LinkedIn does limit the amount of, certain activities. They'll give you a certain number, and then you'll be capped, and then it always refreshes, and that's good to know. All right, so I'm just looking at the clock. I'd love to try to get in 2 more quick questions, and nothing with LinkedIn is a quick answer, but let's see what happens here. What are many intermediate users of LinkedIn missing, in your opinion?
Okay. What I found that is that many intermediate users don't have a connection strategy. In other
Oh,
words,
good.
they react. Okay, so they get an invitation, then they look that person up and decide whether in the short term it would be beneficial for them to connect with that person or not. But having a long-term strategy always beats short-term changes and veering from one area to another.
Got it.
It takes a lot of time. So just decide. There are 6 ways to leverage LinkedIn in terms of marketing. The worst thing is to try one system for a week and then drop it and move into something else. And that also relates to the consistency of what we do on LinkedIn. If I could suggest that anyone listening to us could spend, say, even half an hour a week on LinkedIn. But Mark, do it for 3 months in a row, they could gain a lot more exposure, trust, leads, deals, revenues than
Right.
someone who would spend the whole Thanksgiving holiday on LinkedIn 24/7 for 3 days and then forget about it for a quarter or for 6 months. Just
Good.
using it a bit every time would be a lot more powerful and would give them the results they want.
And I like that as a good tip. That is something that an intermediate user, and I think that's probably something that a lot of intermediate users do, is they're popping in and out frequently. They're not always sticking with it. This would give them an opportunity to understand that just by being consistent. So instead of disappearing for a month because you've got other projects, let's carve out a little time and just continue to do that every week. I like blocking a specific period every week. You just pop in, that's your time. You go in, you post, you share, and it's the consistency is will help out a lot. I love that. What about advanced users? What do you tell advanced users? What do they typically need to look at that it's, because they're doing so much, because they're active, they're overlooking something. What do you typically find that they're overlooking?
Advanced users, what I found is that most of them don't have a system from a lead to a sale on LinkedIn. And the
Oh,
system,
interesting.
just say that advanced user would usually check who's viewed their profile. Again, many people think they need to pay LinkedIn for that. That's not true. Even
Right.
with a free account, you could see up to 5 names. And if you check it, daily or even twice a week, most people would see enough names, like 3 or 4 or 5 names. But the question they should ask themselves is, okay, if I see an interesting prospect, then what should I do? And because they think that everything has to be handled on LinkedIn, they forget that there's a whole world outside of LinkedIn. So if
Right.
I found that someone interesting viewed my profile, I would go and check that person out, and I would go to their website. I would go to ePresence, and I would understand what services you're offering, and then maybe I'll ask a mutual connection of ours more about you.
Mhm.
And when he says you need to speak to Mark because he's helped me in my business, then I would not do anything on LinkedIn. I would not send you an invitation. I would call or I would set an appointment and try to speak with you outside of LinkedIn. The advanced users tend to live on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a tool.
Uh-huh.
It's a very powerful tool, but it's only a means. And if you have a better way to get your sales and your revenues and your leads, then you should not be blinded by LinkedIn. Knowing when to leave LinkedIn is something that many advanced users don't think about.
That's a great point. And I think that you're spot on because once you work LinkedIn into the majority of your day and you in fact convert LinkedIn to your own CRM, you do
Mhm.
feel very comfortable in that space. And a lot of the people that are probably in that area are using Sales Navigator. So
Yes.
they're using Sales Navigator so much that they feel comfortable in that space. I think that's a fantastic tip. Well, Daniel, this has been very enlightening. I always enjoy talking to experts on LinkedIn like yourself because I always learn so much. Where is the best place for people to go to find you if they want more information?
Thank you very much, Mark. The best place to go is danielalfon.com. That's my website. Lots of articles, a freebie about profile headlines, and lots of content. Knock yourself out.
Outstanding. Well, everybody loves a freebie, that's for sure. And then on LinkedIn, is your handle literally just your last name, Alfon?
Yes, and I'd like to share my screen for 1 second, and
Yeah, you
that's also
go for it.
something advanced users sometimes fail to do. You see the URL here of ePresence MG. That's the LinkedIn handle. That's yours, and it's very
I
powerful. it really takes 30 seconds, but it's creative and I like it. And you can use it in your marketing collateral. And it only takes really 30 seconds to go and try to customize that URL instead of having Mark Galvin 832 BC, whatever gibberish LinkedIn shows us.
Yeah, and I love that, and I also like that yours is Alfon, which shows that you did that early, because I don't see a lot of 5-digit handles. So it shows that you were in there early and grabbed that. Let's take that one step further. If we're talking about social media in general, grab a handle on LinkedIn and also try to make it the same handle on all your platforms. So use the same handle everywhere if at all possible, because it's easier to remember and it's easier for your audience to remember. And whatever that template looks like, try to follow that. Well, Daniel, this has been great. I so appreciate you being here. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's now. It's 5:30 your time in the evening, so it is maybe it's dinner time, maybe it's another time. I'm not sure if you're an early dinner person or not, but I do appreciate you joining us for a little chat today about LinkedIn. Let's stay in touch. I have a feeling that there may be times where we'd like to reach out to you again to come back and talk about something else. Maybe there's some new things that happen on LinkedIn in the next 6 months. There's always something new that that shows up and then sometimes disappears because it didn't work. But it might be fun to talk about some of those fun changes. What do you think?
I'll be glad to. Actually, you mentioned LinkedIn Live. LinkedIn Live is gradually rolling out into every LinkedIn user. So, but in the next couple of weeks, or maybe by Christmas, most of our listeners would be able to use it. Just as one quick example, and LinkedIn is rolling out profile changes. Nothing major, but something also in the next couple of weeks. Thank you very much.
Great. More and more to stay on top of. Well, Daniel, thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. Hang out. I'd like to pick your brain a little bit at the end of the show here. We're going to do some quick wrap up, and then we'll be back with you. Thanks, Daniel. See you soon. So for the rest of you folks, that was a great conversation. We love that Daniel was able to join us today, all the way from Israel. Isn't that cool that we can do that today? Still, I love technology. It is supposed to bring us together, and this is a good example of how technology's actually done that. So what do? We are at ePresence, and Daniel was good. He was talking about ePresence throughout his conversation, but ePresence is a full service social media agency, which means we help people, we help companies first get online, stay online, achieve whatever it is their goal is with their social media, but we also intertwine the personal. And why? It's because of what Daniel said. LinkedIn is better from a personal profile perspective. So, a personal profile, to put that more succinctly, a personal profile is where business people are going to make the most robust connections. So, activate your personal profiles to support the company brand. And we help with that. We also offer consulting and training. You can give us a buzz, go straight to our website at epresence.me. That's epresence.me, because it's all about you right there. It's actually on that side. No, it's on this side. That this whole mirror thing, everything's opposite. It's confusing for the record. But anyway, there's the website. Go there. If you are a frequent listener and watcher and viewer of How's Your ePresence, you probably know this. We offer a 5% discount on all of our services for all of our listeners. So the link is on the screen there. There you go. Thank you, Morgan. e-pr.me /listener. So I'm going to say that again. e-pr.me/listener is the place that you can go and get access to 5% discount on all of our services. How's Your ePresence is everywhere. Our show is live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. We'd love for you to subscribe. So show that subscribe button there, Morgan. Thank you very much. Hit that subscribe button so you know when we go live. I know we had a lot of viewers on LinkedIn. Here on StreamYard, we don't always see you showing up. So saying something on the chat box like we had from Anu Vasan today, she shared a little bit of information. We put that up on the screen. We'll do the same thing for you. So hit that subscribe button and you'll know when we're live. If you're a podcast listener and you want more information on that, our website for that is epresence.me/podcast. epresence.me/podcast is where you can get all of our information. In fact, there's links back to all of our videos on that page as well. We drop content every week. So every Friday, we're dropping a brand new episode. So make sure you add us to your podcast app. And we are everywhere. You name it, we're there. Recently, we added Audible to our list of places that we're dropping the podcast. This show is produced by ePresence. Our producer, writer, and social media extraordinaire is Morgan Wood. Until next time, for my guest, Daniel Alfon, I am Mark Galvin, and we appreciate you being here at How's Your ePresence?